I'm here with Tim Crick, Managing Partner at DeckBlue, a customer decisioning consultancy. And Tim previously worked at RBS in this kind of space, and he works with a number of large UK and US banks, particularly at the moment. But what is it exactly that you're doing to help these organisations?
Well, essentially, we help them turn their customer contact strategies around 90 degrees to become truly customer-centred. And the easiest way to describe that is thinking a customer at a time. So giving the organisation the ability to look at each individual customer to work out what the next best thing to do is with that customer to create value, and then to make that happen across all channels, inbound channels, digital channels, traditional channels. But to be able to do that with 5 million customers, 10 million customers, and that's really the secret.
Okay, so you're talking about doing this at real industrial scale. So I presume there's quite a few challenges with that. What are the main challenges that organisations have?
Well, the first and major challenge is around the organisational strategy and culture. The organisation has to be organised around the customer and has to think around it. Otherwise, you can build some platforms and processes that are not going to deliver the true value. So that's a kind of number one prerequisite. Customer information, customer data is critically important. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you do have to recognise it's a fundamental building block, and you have to be able to, it has to be good enough to start working with. There are some technical capabilities and components required to allow you to connect into the different channels and to join them all up. But those are known and manageable. So those, I think, if you had to focus on two things, really, it would be around the strategies and culture of the organisation and the customer data.
Okay, and at what level within the organisation are you talking? Because presumably this is all of organisation involvement required to make some of these happen. These things happen.
Well, very often we're working with marketing departments, but this type of thinking does intrinsically involve other parts of the organisation as well. If you start to really focus on the customer experience and journey, it has to be multidisciplinary. So typical engagement, we would be working with marketing, but engaging more broadly with channel owners and product owners to establish that common approach and shared approach.
And you were talking about the need for culture change and also systems and so on. So I assume this involves quite an investment from the organisation. How do you go about justifying that investment?
Well, it doesn't have to involve a huge investment up front, and indeed we would recommend that you start in a relatively small way and actually build. It's important that what is built is scalable and that you're not going to get up a blind alley. But I think proving the kind of principles and value of the approach are key. And indeed, a lot can be achieved very often using existing capabilities, but changing the thinking of the organisation around to actually begin to create a virtuous circle that can then drive investment and improvement in systems and data quality and those other important things that would follow on.
Okay. And do you have an example that you can share with us?
Yes, well, certainly in terms of banks I've worked with in the past, a common theme is enabling banks to actually communicate with customers on digital channels. One of the challenges banks and many organisations face is becoming, if you like, disintermediated with the customer through digital channels, whereas historically may have had an agent or a customer advisor talking to customers and able to interact with them on digital channels. That's gone. And looking at the figures, one report says by 2020, coming on for 99% of customer interactions with banks will be on digital channels. So the challenge is, how does a bank engage and have a conversation with a customer on those channels? So part of what we're putting in place is that ability, if you like, replacing that ability to manage the conversation on digital channels. But in a way that's complementary to existing channels, to telephony and branch contacts as well.
Great, thanks. And finally, do you have some evidence that your approach has an impact on?
Certainly. So in situations where historically we've replaced, if you like, existing, if you want to call them, digital channels, ad-serving approaches with targeted next best action type offers, then we've seen figures such as 20 to 30% improvements, if you want to take it in sales metrics, but with 20% less communications to the customers. So that's Good result. It's actually more value for the organisation. It's better for the customers. There's less wastage, and it creates more space in communication channels for service messages and other means of using those communication opportunities.
Great. Thank you very much.